All right, so good morning, welcome. So this is the time to start our session all together. First of all, a couple of highlights. I'm so glad to have Onindita and Sam with me, our volunteers and providers. Sam, where are you based? I failed to ask you this.
I'm in UK, in Cheshire.
Cheshire, okay. And Onindita is in Beijing, China. Is that correct? Perfect. So the whole idea of this session, even though we have this catchy title about metaverse and everything, it's a part of the whole promise. The promise is very straightforward. This is a platform for dialogue. It means I have two titles in running this session this morning, and I'd like to hear you. I'd like to create a platform where we hear each other so that we can see how fit we are. When I say we, I'm going to explain this as well, for what's going on in the world and what could go in the near future. One of my hats, I'm serving as global president for our organization. I see many familiar faces, but if there's anyone, a first comer to EMCC, welcome. So welcome to the family. I'm going to touch a little bit about, maybe 2-3 slides about our philosophy in accreditation and everything in order to be able to put us on the same kind of ground. And if you agree with me, I'm going to share with you a few ideas, the trends I see, what's going on in the world. And I will kindly invite Onindita and Sam to make some comments if they agree or don't agree, whatever those comments. I'm not going to elaborate them because this week I have some other speeches that I will be speaking in detail in some of them. But I'm going to touch upon metaverse, the things that I discovered, the child in me, so happy and having fun to see what we're missing, but maybe we don't, I don't know. Then I will invite you all, depending on the total number, in smaller groups or in the big group or whatever, to reflect and to tell us how you see those things, or even maybe more things affecting the industry, coaching, mentoring, supervision, but also your business in a way. Maybe you are in the coaching training or supervision training or mentoring training. So how you see those things would affect the way we tackle those things. One of my hats, I'm a training provider, like most of you. In order to better understand how EMCC works, I had to go through the whole process. And this afternoon, I'm going to have a very heavy, serious external verification meeting, my first one. This is my first year. This is a foundation level course with bespoke practitioner. We have already have more than 100 EIA holders graduated from our program during the last 16 months. So it's a small program. It's a humble program. So we don't really claim to train the best coaches in the world. It's in Turkish, just in Turkish. But we do have a big claim that maybe we do train the best coaches in the world, because our graduates are fully aware of what coaching is all about, but they jump their journey, they start their journey. And as you know, accreditation, practice, the life of a practitioner is nothing but a journey. A journey that should be celebrated all the way. And this is the way we look at it. And my second hat, as you know, I'm serving as a global head. And what's going on? We are in the process of designing our strategy. I'm talking about on behalf of EMCC, because the next 3 years will be, maybe some things will be different from the past. If I may comment, for the last I've been serving last 4 years at this capacity. We have seen a strong growth in all areas, including accredited members, accredited training providers, the membership globally. Some of those figures jumped by 5 times, some of them by 2 times or 3 times. So things are growing pretty fast. Of course, we should celebrate, but at the same time, things are changing. And I think it's time for us to reflect and to see if there are things we should tackle or do differently. So this a session where we also would like to hear your view your voice, because we believe training providers and accredited practitioners, whether they choose to be a member with us or not, you are all very esteemed stakeholders, because we do co-create this profession together with you. Is there anything you would like to add, Onindita, Sam, at that stage?
Nothing from me at this stage, no. I just think the topics of the discussion are absolutely fascinating, certainly from a practitioner level.
Okay, so let's start. And let's also start how you can put your inputs. The chat is a great source in Zoom where we can really collect and save and use your comments going forward. In order to practice our use of chat, may I first invite you to put from which city you're joining this session this morning. Just put the city you're joining us this morning. All right, Malmö, Lisbon. So, okay, it's coming. Istanbul, Helsinki, Lisbon, wonderful. India, Chennai, Turin, London, Zagreb. All right, Leeds. Botswana, Prague. We're looking forward to be in Prague in June, early June, isn't it, for our conference? Malta. Setúbal, I don't know. Marbella, another Istanbul. And Elizabeth, I see your hand. You would like to contribute?
Yeah, so I'm going to be a bit vulnerable here and just share with you all that I have dyslexia. And when asking to put things in the chat, I then start getting really nervous, and there'll be things I want to say but aren't fully able to share. And that's what I would like to bring to the discussion as well today.
Very good point. Thank you very much for this learning. Actually, inclusion is one of the topics that I see as big trend. Easy to say, very difficult to practice with full awareness. And thank you very much. Thank you very much. It's a learning for all of us, Elizabeth.
Me also, so this is something I decided yesterday, so I'm being really bold in sharing. I also have ADD, which is the inattentive type of ADHD. And that also is part of who I am and how I show up, and role modeling, being vulnerable. But it is hard. But I wanted to share today.
Thank you. And I think I will ask the whole participants to really reflect on this, because this is something that's, for me at least, a learning point, a stretch. Some of the things you mentioned, I don't fully master and I understand, which means I am also in a way vulnerable, because I don't know where and how I could do things wrong. So this is a great experience. I'll be looking forward to it, Elizabeth. Thank you for sharing. So let's do the boring part. I'm gonna share some of my thinking, and I will kindly invite first Onidita and Sam to comment if there's any comments there. And then I will invite you all to really share your thinking. Okay, the trends, I need to find the slide. Okay, that's a recent study by Wunderman Thompson, and they asked how tech will improve your life. As you see, it's a bit biased question. It's asked how improve. And these are the highlights that came up. It's, I think, 3,000 people, all generations. They claim all over the world, but as you know, the Northern America and Asia Pacific plays relatively bigger role in those studies, because it's designed to new technologies. It's not so nice to see the things like sustainability, affordability, communication. I think inclusion is there, but it's a kind of small, isn't it, somewhere? Efficiency, environment. So the way people see technology, of course, it's a threat, it's a challenge, it's a change in our way of lives. But at the same time, it is basically an opportunity. In the meantime, maybe I can ask Denise or somebody who is a co-host to admit the newcomers. I did that because it's very difficult for me to do.
Okay, Riza, yeah.
Thank you very much.
I will coming
do
in.
that. Thank you. Thanks. This is where we start. I should also make a confession here. If you ask me what is the best time in history to live, I would say tomorrow. I also believe humanity is improving. Of course, there are ups and downs. There are, not everything is the same, the whole part of the globe. But at the end of the day, I'm also kind of tech pro person, even though I'm aware of how it kind of also may ruin our lives. But overall, I'm also kind of looking from the positive kind of side to all these developments. So the boring part. But I believe this is things that we gotta be very careful and we should be all aware when we design or co-create our future. First of all, collaboration was always the key topic for humanity. Those the communities who can really get together, work together, prosper. Today, the big change is that collaboration happens remotely. It's not just the pandemic, okay? Long before the pandemic, we had the ability to use Zoom or whatever. But one thing that really affects our business, it's passé, it's already done, I know, but the platform economies. In the past, sometimes it was the producer, sometimes the provider, sometimes the consumer, sometimes the logistics, sometimes guys in between or whatever, the traders. But now, when you look to top companies in the world, it's all platform economies. The gift of 4G, I don't know how things will evolve in the metaverse or omniverse, but today, we also see that as a trend in the coaching industry. We started to see the hubs with thousands of coaches on board, or maybe some apps who are getting into coaching today. In my EQA, the training school, we are collaborating with an app. They claim to be a mental coach. They have 30 million users in 12 non-native English-speaking countries, and they would like to incorporate coaching into their program. The way they define coaching is not necessarily as we define in EMCC, but here we go. 30 million people will have access some sort of coaching if it's the right way. An amazing opportunity, isn't it? But it's also a big threat. What's going to happen to all those coaches who are making some sort of living out of this service? Second thing, I go quick, if I can use my technology. Yeah, hybrid life. There's a Harvard Business Review article on this recently. It's no longer just Zoom, it's no longer just physical, but that's a big challenge, isn't it? Who's going to be disadvantaged? Being physically there because it's less efficient maybe, or maybe a remote collaboration, distant, then you're not in the room. Is it better or worse? I don't know. That topic, very easy to say, and then very difficult to practice, as we've just seen. It's all about people don't remember what you say, but they remember how you make them feel, kind of concept. Inclusion is a feeling. I'm not going to go into detail. We all speak the same thing, but if it's a feeling, if it's a perception, and it is, basically it's a big coaching issue, because inclusion is not about your diversity, how your background or your characteristics or whatever, but also it's psychology on the moment, in the moment, how you feel with the topic or whatever. So as you're diverse, how can we make it sure that you feel included? Then the state of fear, these emotional triggers. I'm sure you have watched The Social Dilemma on Netflix, whatever. So, and I love it. I ask to everyone if they use the same expression in their own language. Pay attention. In English, it's said pay attention. So pay is payment, isn't it? And attention. So in other languages, we say give or take or whatever, but we don't say pay. And it goes like, if they can get your attention, it means they can kind of get your wallet as well. So how does it mean for coach training this? Then, deteriorating mental health, feeling of not being enough, the burnout in some countries, especially teenagers, but we are also kind of affected with this. And then the new concepts. When I started my banking career, it was all Cartesian, all linear, command and control. Now, we're talking about multi-stakeholder network management. We're talking about design mindset. We are talking about agile, but the requirements of agile, are they really embedded in the today's business world that we have designed with Industry Revolution? Before I do that, Sam or Odita, anything you would like to say? I just went very quick in order to finish my speaking part very quickly.
Yeah, I think some of the things that you've just mentioned there in the trends, we saw very much in the lockdown. I've been a training provider for the last 15 years, but I've been in the online space for 10 years. But what we found, certainly at the beginning of lockdown, was the shift going through into this online space created an awful lot of anxiety. People didn't quite know how they were going to continue working, never mind coaching. And I'm an EQA provider, and we very quickly moved our program into this online space, as many providers did. But actually, when you look down those major trends there, these are the types of things that we were seeing within our EQA program and some of our coaching sessions that we were doing. That remote collaboration, all of a sudden, people didn't actually know how to use Teams or Zoom or Adobe or WebEx. That hybrid sort of life and workplace mix and blend all of a sudden was creating difficulties and challenges. People that have children, for instance, people that don't have a space to work, they're simply on their kitchen table, maybe, in the family area. And that was creating, quite a lot of stress and anxiety. Inclusion. Sometimes people felt not included because they didn't understand fully how to get the best out of the platforms, for instance. So that then impacted on the emotional triggers and the state of fear, and that deteriorating mental health. And I think as we've moved through the sort of last 18 months or so, we've seen people soften and we've seen people understand and get to grips with this arena. But I actually think it also links very much into what it is that we've just been through in the last 18 months. So for me, certainly as a training provider, I'm not at all surprised that these are the major trends that's kind of been seen. But I think people are settled now that we can have great conversations in this virtual space.
Thank you. Onindita, if your connection is better, could we also hear your comments?
I actually do not have anything to comment on, except that because I'm based in Beijing, the realities change here. When we talk about metaverse, it is not relevant in Beijing at this moment. It has never been. Google is banned. I was kicked out of Zoom because I need a VPN to access Zoom. So we're talking about a different set of reality when based in China, which is an excellent study in inclusion and diversity. And not only diversity, but just expanding our universe. So I'm all ears to learn, and also sharing my experience living here and working in Beijing, how it is. Beijing is a very young population, and we work with different set of technology, different set of hieroglyphs. I think it's a brilliant space to be, but also extremely challenging.
And I think that resonates with most of us, because somehow, maybe a few of us feel very comfortable with the environment they live in. But I think this increasing, how can I say, being concerned, worried about different things, and technology used for various purposes, I think it brings another level of anxiety in everybody's life. And Sam, if I may add, this remote access is one thing, but I think our coaches and our students, they're also in the process of learning different ways of collaborate for project management or whatever. So not only Zoom, whatever, but also maybe Slack, Trello, and all the other things. In order to really co-create, communication is not enough. And in our EQA, for example, we use an LMS. Otherwise it's very difficult to capture the learnings. And the LMS we use is Canvas, this big Ivy League universities or whatever you're using. They also have a kind of free, and also Google Drive, of course. And basically embedding them together with this Zoom technology, we are in a position to really offer everything online with, all the possibilities of triads, quartets, and to capture every single learning outcome that we would like to capture, and to have all these reflective pieces logged in the system, being able to really look, and all the quality assurance systems or surveys, how to improve our offerings and everything. These are the positive sides, but things even evolve. So before I invite everyone in smaller, most probably rooms, because we are already almost 70 people, or maybe here, to comment on those, let me also cover a part of my promise and to talk to you about this metaverse, the new thing that actually metaverse, unfortunately, being captured by Mark as a kind of a commercial aspect. So I don't want to serve his agenda. But metaverse has been around before Mark Zuckerberg captured the whole topic. And the competition, I will also invite you today. I'm not going to talk about it, but Omniverse, NVIDIA, what they do, how they create mimicking the real world into a digital world, and how to manage the real world from the digital space. Because when you think about, for example, car manufacturing, it's all the robots who are producing the cars. So why do you really go to factory to train the robots? They do everything digitally. But metaverse may have an impact on coaching. So that's why I'd like to share a couple of things with you. First question, how many of you has an avatar? All right. The only hand from China or whatever. Yeah, okay. So I'm just building my own avatar lately. But I'm very, very native. So we have a concept called circle in EMCC. Maybe some of you are a member of this circle. This is the corporates, relatively large, big corporates, having an internal coaching program. And we created this benchmarking space, let's say. We do nothing. One of our volunteers managing the space, let's say. And those participating companies, big names, household names, global names, started with them. And they share, they benchmark their learning, how they manage their internal coaching programs. And all we ask from them is to show us the willingness to benchmark their program with ISMCP. So that's very light request, and we learn a lot. In one of their meetings, and I do my best to attend those meetings, one of the participants, he introduced us how they use avatars in their coaching program. So that was weird, kinda. And then he explained how they can use constellations, how they can create spaces and environment and experiences, and why not showing your face, but just with your avatar, people can create trust and a learning in a coaching space. And that was great, but it was an example. Then I looked into this metaverse concept. I realized that this concept for the kids, the electronic sports or electronic gaming industry, now has a big impact in real life. And that's all happened during the last few months. We were just having our holidays, summertime or whatever, and many things evolved. Some of the things that I can share with you, maybe on screen, about some of the discoveries I had. Especially, as you may imagine, for young generations, they definitely believe their life depends on technology. In the metaverse, you do create not only your avatar, but you also do shopping for your avatar. So you buy a house for your avatar, you buy clothes for your avatar, you buy a designer handbag for your avatar. Gucci, they are celebrating their 100th year anniversary. And in order to have this real life concept, they introduced the whole celebration into the metaverse. And now they sell a handbag for avatars at $3,000 and sold. It's fully, sold out. I'm going to show you this dress. This is a dress for avatar. So you don't really have this dress. There's a company in Amsterdam called The Fabricant. They work with Ralph Lauren, Nike, Gucci, whatever, many big brands to create a series of new clothing and accessories for avatars. And this specific dress has been sold for $9,500, real dollars, and not real dress. And this is another app, a company that you do shopping dressed. It's an app. You basically buy dresses from there, but none of these Versace, Tom Ford, or whatever exist in reality. They are for avatars. You can send them a picture of yours if you like. They can put this on your own picture that you can use for your social media, whatever. And the prices, do we have the prices there yet? I think this is the, I don't know the currency here. People do switch on digitally to unwind. And when asked the question of, would you like to go to a concert with your avatar or a movie viewing with your avatar, and even doing a digital conference with your avatar, those who have already been in metaverse, they basically say, yes, lovely. And even for a digital cocktail party, half of them, they are very happy to join instead of in person, sending their avatar to a cocktail party. For those who are not in the metaverse, it's okay, but not there yet. But if the trend is reality, it may have a big impact on lives. This is another survey. And then asked the Chinese tourists how they would like to feel about a virtual vacation. More than half said, yeah, that's very interesting, appealing. Because you don't sit at home. You go to a hotel nearby in your vicinity, but there you put your, the Googles and everything, and you watch the Northern Lights. No need to travel all the way to Finland to do it. You can do it in your neighborhood, in a special hotel, having the trip, tourism, kind of hybrid, isn't it? And I'll finish it now. And the advertising industry really moving big time into this domain. I don't know whether all those things that I recently discovered and sharing with you makes any sense. But it's not remote, it's not far away. It is really kind of converging with the real world. And already there are conferences, concerts, and maybe you've seen the Mark Zuckerberg's or Jensen Huang's videos, how they foresee the mesh, their platform, for example, that they can put everyone in the workplace with their avatars on that platform so that they create a more meaningful, exciting, more inclusive workspace. Is it a fad? Is it a trend? Is it just bullshit? Or is it really a reality? I don't know. But the first 8 trends I shared with you, and I think it resonated with you because we went through the pandemic. Before the pandemic, if I were to share all these trends, maybe you would have more reactions, but now it's more normal, isn't it? It's de facto, you know it. But now the new thing, having this virtual world, connecting with the real world, what kind of impact of all those things have on our coaches or on our students, and also how it will impact on our own business as a coach, practitioner, but also maybe coach training provider. These are the things that keeps kind of us busy in order to identify how we can reposition ourselves as a provider, but also as EMCC going forward. I think basically that's all I wanted to share with you. That these are nothing necessarily new for me, for you maybe. But based on this, I'd like to give the floor to you and to get your input. How all those things resonate with you, and how would you react? How would you tell EMCC, tell us back, where to look, how to look, where to focus? Would it be okay if I invite you to join smaller groups so that you also get to know each other and also have a conversation around those topics? And when we're back, I will kindly ask your input to the larger group through chat or by talking or as you like it, so that we all learn from each other. Would that be a good game plan? This kind of rhetorical questions, that is Olivia supporting. Thank you very much. So where do I see the breakout rooms? Yes. So it's challenging, of course. I can't really have big rooms because it will be difficult for you to converse, but also too many rooms will be difficult to get all the inputs. But anyway, there will be a balance. So in terms of timing, if you have time, I will give you 15 minutes if it's okay for you. Would it be too short? Yeah.
How much did you say?
15, 1-5. And then we'll be here in the big room to share our discoveries. So good luck, enjoy your conversations, and I'll be looking forward to seeing you soon back here. All right, so how shall we play? We have about 20 minutes to go, or 25 at most. And I'd like to hear you. I'd like to get your input, your ideas. Whoever feel comfortable, you can put it on chat, and we can all save and make the best use of it. But you may be willing to also turn on your mics and share quickly, briefly, the discoveries, the big highlights in your sessions, in your breakout rooms.
In our room, we had Dr. Olson, and he had a very good question. Would you like to ask here?
Yeah, Paul, right next to you.
The last question that I had?
Yes, please.
Okay, yeah, right. So we were discussing, Riza, a bit about, it definitely has its place, and, but the question is, all of us are solopreneurs, right? And we can't afford all this technology. No. So the question is, are we being driven into being hired by somebody in order to do these things, or how do we maneuver? That's a big discussion. The other thing is, of course, are we in a real world, or are we in the gaming world? Because the avatars and things, are we hiding? Are we projecting? All of that is interesting, but it's still gaming. And is the role of coaches to bring people to reality and authentic behaviors rather than into a new set of gaming? So we had all those things useful but difficult.
Well, thank you. Just a quick maybe reflection. I didn't share that part of the research with you. When they ask people, the biggest first priority, people say the avatars should reflect their true self. So when I did my avatar, you should see my avatar, like six packs here, like, great guy, amazing look. And my daughter says, no, Dad, this is the old way of doing. You got to put yourself, really reflect yourself in your avatar. Then I'm not there yet. So that's why I didn't share with my avatar yet. It's not authentic enough. But the challenge is, at least my daughter tells me, it's got to be authentic. But you're right. It's no longer gaming. I don't know, but again, thank you, Paul. So Celia?
Hi, thank you. So picking up on the topic of, are we in the real world? Are we in the gaming world? For me, as well as we were talking in our breakout room, for me, I realized that my biggest concern is about who is in control of the creation of the platforms and the worlds that we use. Because if you think about a child, they can play, cops and robbers with a gun, which is a stick. They don't need a real gun loaded with bullets to be able to have a full immersive game of cops and robbers. When we play a video game, we are defined by what we can use and how we use it. And my worry with turning coaching into a digital experience where we are engaging with each other digitally, someone has created that digital world, that digital experience, and then we become limited by what the tech developer has created. And I worry that it will define and reduce the experience for both sides of the the engagement.
Celia, totally I agree on the gaming side, but which is more worrying, I didn't put it in my presentation. There is a concept called virtual verticals or whatever. So there are pharmacies in a way, and they claim to provide you with some experience that's good for your health. And FDA has just approved the first, let's say, game for certain psychological disorders. 25 minutes a day, you play the game, and then you get better. I know this is alarming. Who's going to control this? Who is on the ethical front or whatever? But it's no longer really, really virtual, maybe. But you're right. On the gaming side, I fully agree with you. But it's more than gaming now. It's really getting into very close. But thank you. I just put down the your concerns. Anna?
Hi, good morning all. I totally take on what Celia and Paul have said, actually. I think it's important to understand the new technologies and how they're developed, what's available. But I do think we should be cautious in being driven into it as the focus, let's say, of our work, because I think ethics is at the bottom of our works and humanity is. And I think these conversations are extremely important to bring out the issues and people's concerns. And I think we really do need to explore them further. We probably need more sessions. I think it's really important that you have brought this session about technology and how we use it, because definitely it's here to stay. The young people are driven by technology, but perhaps we can think of it as another tool that we might use selectively. Maybe if someone is stuck, for example, you bring in, let's play a game, and let's look at it in when you reposition and you try and get conversation going. If it's becoming stuck, maybe it's just another tool in our toolbox. But I just would encourage us to think about it and just to really also get some input on the psychological side. I mean, I don't think we've seen the issues Facebook, Instagram have caused for younger people, especially. I just think we should be a little bit cautious. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much, Anna. Aileen, do I pronounce it correctly?
Yes, thank you. It's Eileen. I wanted to offer perhaps a different perspective out there for consideration. And to Anna's point, that's one of it. I think we need to consider this as a tool. I think there are people who do consider technology as alarming, especially new technology. But if you look at it today, I mean, people were alarmed by many, many different stages of technology, and human beings have learned how to adapt to some extent. We're still trying to figure out, that's for sure, but that's another story altogether. Now, the other aspect I think that we need to consider, aside from the creative imagination side that Anna has talked about, this is another potential way of expression. And if we want to talk about inclusion, having an avatar is potentially another for self-expression, especially in the younger people. I mean, it's no different from, say, if you paint and you express yourself through painting or through photography or through writing or through poems. This is just another creative tool that allows people to say things differently. And I mean, even the question about how people now need to have avatars that resemble them as much as possible. I was saying earlier in the group that perhaps if we come in with, unconditional assumptions and judgments, we might see an avatar that's not exactly like, who doesn't really resemble us, as perhaps an alter ego that says something about what we desire to be, or how we see ourselves, or how, it's a part of fantasy. I think that's very much part of us as human beings. And I think that is something we need to be listening and looking out for when we talk, as well as when we listen to perhaps even younger clients. So just a thought.
Yeah, I put it down. Expression. You're right. I totally agree. Alter ego. Very relevant for coaching at least. Thank you very much. Mary?
Thank you. I was in a group with Celia and found her points really, really useful, and hadn't thought about some of the things that she said. And so all the things that have been said so far I found really useful. I just wanted to add something, and building on your point, Eileen, about inclusion. In the UK, we are talking a lot, almost all the time, certainly in the clients I work with, about diversity and inclusion. And coaching is, people are excluded because for an awful lot of people, they can't afford coaching. And I think it's absolutely right that we have the safeguards around there, that we take on board ethics, authenticity, but maybe there's a place where people can go for virtual coaching, so at least they have a taster of it. And that's maybe the start of including people. Thank you.
I agree, Mary. And I also extend your comment to coach training. For example, our, let's say, relatively humble small program, even though it's just in Turkish, we have participants from 15 different countries so far. And even people from smaller cities, towns, where they would never have access to go to big town for a proper coach training. So if we are confident about the quality of what we offer, actually offering it online has an impact on democratization, or maybe making it more inclusive for a larger audience. This is my small kind of anecdotal personal, but of course, many of you would have maybe even more experience to share on that ground. I see Tamara.
Well, I'm in more general kind of thinking about all this, and it makes me wonder what the future generation would look like or think about certain things. I was thinking, like, we are partially, if not overall, the product of our interaction with our environment, which right now the environment is, as we know, and we're talking about a virtual environment, and what kind of interaction people will have with a virtual environment, and what will be the product of that, talking about really future generations. And then I was thinking about the experience, and that the example you gave, Riza, about, having a really nice vacation, but really in a virtual place. I was thinking about the journey. I mean, the learning is through the journey that we have, rather than just a certain vision in front of us. I don't know what kind of interactions there will be maybe, I don't know, 6-dimensional, or who knows what technology can bring in. But for me, the journey is very important in our learning. And the other example you said, about coming back to the room, and it's just a click and we're back to the room, instead of, you have all these people trying to get in a room. But just think about how things can develop by bumping into somebody, and you can have a new meeting and a discussion and a networking, and you can develop something or fall in love with somebody just by having all these people joining to trying to get into a room. How many things can happen during that time? So I think the reality and the virtual has both things to offer to us as human beings, whether this is just in everyday life or in coaching. And I think maybe we should see both the benefits, but also the setbacks in both reality and virtual world. I think, yes, technology is here and will stay here. And how we will use it ethically wise, because you refer to authenticity, which is a great part of what we're doing. And I was talking about intuition before, and how artificial intelligence can pick up intuition, again, a product of all that we experienced, to bring into that really dialogue with the coachee. So just sharing these thoughts, I mean, it's a new era for everyone. And, we are just here to think about it and reflect on that, and how this can work in a way to the best benefit of all.
Yeah. And Tamara, thank you. What I hear is, why should it be either or? Why not a combination? And I see in the chat, Barbara shared a business proposal in a way, maybe. Could we ask our clients whether they choose me, my avatar, or my coaching app? It's another way of looking at things, isn't it? So you price it differently, your services. And I also read the ethical code. Which kind of ethical code are these developers adhering to? Good question. And then how EMCC could be more actively involved in, maybe in the best practice in the digital services. And also I read how EMCC could recognize pro bono work that our members are doing. It also serves inclusion in a way. Any other comment? Anything you would like to add from your group discussions, or from your own personal experience?
Yes, I sent it also in the chat. But I see an enormous business opportunity for game developers who are great at developing OCD and dependency disorders. So I think we might have to discuss this, or create some kind of ethical guidelines for how to use these new technologies. But I put it in the chat for you to remember.
I see it, and I save it. Actually, the good news, I can maybe tell you this, the Global Code of Ethics that we co-created, and then we gave it to the whole industry. And now there are 8 or 9 different organizations, professional bodies all over the world who are co-signatories. And now we are opening it for supporters, not only co-signatories, but different players to support directly, not necessarily from our profession, but also related professions. So it's growing. And the work group is now actually, I shouldn't call it work group, it's Center for Excellence that we changed, because, work, it doesn't really resonate well. But the Center for Excellence, the volunteers, they are now working on the 3rd version, the revision of the code. And one of the hot topics they are tackling is ethic of the digital providers or service providers, how digital should play a role in the ethical offering of coaching. And if you do happen to have any suggestion in that regard, please do share. You can share it directly with me on LinkedIn, and I will divert to Angela, who is leading our efforts in that domain, or you can directly reach her you will find her name on our website. So your contribution will be very much appreciated. Again, it's a very long process, all these organizations coming together to agree on those amendments. But it's important, that's all we can do. Regulating the gaming industry, I think we are not really the party to do it, but we can just do it from our own angle and to see how it may impact our own practice. I see Simon here, so I don't want to put you on spot, Simon, but anything you would like to share, reflections, idea, then I will invite Ulrika. Simon, anything you would like to at this stage?
Yeah, so I was sharing earlier on that in terms of use of technology, where I come from in Singapore, the government is actually funding organizations to work on technology-based, it could be application, it could be anything that can support the role of coaching and mentoring. So, you can see these being taken on as a huge task, coming from the government. So I was pleasantly surprised that the government actually spent money on this, and they have nominated 3 organizations to spearhead this effort. So it is like a national effort. Yeah.
And to better understand, this effort is really dedicated, focused on the coaching.
Not just coaching.
More general.
More general, it could be coaching, mentoring, but the reason why I mentioned coaching and mentoring is because I know of an organization who have been selected to do that, and they have actually invited me to come in and support them. So therefore, I'm aware of what's happening in the coaching arena. Yeah.
Perfect. I will touch upon this because most of us visit in Europe, and it looks like different parts of the world are even a bit more advanced in their approach to this debate than our geography. I'm going to share you an example from South Korea at the end of the session. But before I do that, Ulrika and then Barbara.
Well, first of all, thank you very much for this conversation, which I think is really, really important, also due to how we as human beings in general are very cooperate and changeable. We can see that throughout the whole pandemic. And technology, yes, it is here to stay, but it would be better if we were, choosing the direction. And also, again, because for all of us working with humans, we know that it's the humanity and the human skills that makes us human that is important for us to develop. But we also see how we kind of, because it's hard sometimes, how we kind of pull away from those parts. So I just wanted I really wish us to be creators of this instead of just cooperating with whatever happens in technology, and remembering what makes us human, what is needed in this world, and that it's also creating some discomfort and why we try to avoid it. Thank you very much. Thank you all.
Thank you. Barbara?
Thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to speak right now. So I would like to share 2 things, be short and meaningful. So yesterday I had the opportunity to listen to Isami's accent. So I can share with you, that's very nice, the drawbacks, the setbacks of new technology that are they had problems with confidentiality. So there are many things they can do with this. The other one is the change. So the technology or the robot, we can say that artificial intelligence robot can change all the time because the conditions are changing. So this is very important. The third that is very interesting is that sometimes technology doesn't work very well. So we cannot rely on the technology. And this is I'm saying that we can always unplug Alexa. The other thing that I would like to share with you is that I am very fascinated. I don't know how about you, if I am thinking that once I can program my robot. So I can offer to people, Barbara, even I am dead. I don't know. It's funny right now. This is the first thought that came up to me. It's fascinating. And the third, that's very important, that I am a credible and ethical coach because I am an ICF and I am a EMCC coach. So I can program someone that follow the rules. And this is, I think, the challenge and the responsibility of from us and for the professional body. So to examine who is programming those avatars. Okay.
Barbara, what you're saying is really goes very well with Ulrika's point of being reactive or proactive, the way I read it, and how brave we are, and also hear Paul's idea about resources, how much resources we have to put in place in this domain. But all I wanted to kind of share with you this morning, and we are aware of time just at the end of our session now. This is a topic, and this is something that we can't really ignore. Although apparently coaching and mentoring is relatively smaller industry for big tech to attack, but it's happening. Even most probably you notice on your Instagram or whatever, some commercials from some apps claiming to be the coach, mental coach, health coach, whatever coach. And in my own school, we are joining forces with this provider, the app, with this mental coach app, whatever, and we'll see whether we can really play a reliable role for them. Because at the end of the day, it's very weird. I'm talking about hundreds. They are talking about millions in terms of users, reach, impact. So collectively, there is also an issue. Are there enough coaches in the world? We're talking about what, 50,000, 100,000, whatever thousand. And in one of my write-ups, I mentioned the commercial aircraft pilots are more than 500,000 in the world. So it should be more difficult to, fly a plane than coaching, but there are not enough coaches. And every pilot should have a coach, isn't it? But they don't necessarily, whatever. So this is another challenge. Maybe we need to reach out to a much larger number and audience. But would that be at the detriment of the existing practitioners or not? Wherever I go, I receive questions about how coaching could be a profitable practice. It's not in many places. So, all those debates, I think, is kind of giving us some inspiration how to reposition ourselves, not only as individuals, but also practitioners, providers, but also maybe EMCC collectively. I see, Krista, your hand, but we're already past time. So if you agree, you may be willing to maybe write me or share your comments later on if it's not really burning, but if it's burning, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Just 30 seconds. What I think is very important is to ask the key questions for coaches, because clients will be in new reality with two personalities, the one that is in real life and the other that is in the digital world. And this will create differences in perception, in psychology, and interactions. So if I can write to you several questions that I think are important after the meeting, if I know your mail, I will be very happy. Thank you very much.
My pleasure. Could we agree to do it on LinkedIn? Because
absolutely.
It's much easier. Put my name and you will get me. And then it will be much easier to communicate rather than emails.
Thank you very much.
Allow me, I will thank you all for this session. I know it's an abrupt finish for such a rich topic, but time is here. Let me finish this session by introducing to someone that I recently met and very much impressed. So she is called Rosie. Do you see it on the screen? Yeah, Rosie. She is a celebrity. She's an influencer from South Korea. You see 106,000 followers. It's just Instagram account. And she doesn't exist. She is just an avatar. Rosie, the avatar. And she already has lots of commercial agreements with big brands. She's every day in daily life. She has a past, childhood, future, aspirations, expectations. And Rosie is not real. Rosie is, if I may call, just an avatar. And the way she described herself, I am the one, I am the only one, I could be everyone. Rosie, the avatar, she is claimed to be the first virtual influencer in Korea. So it's not really a game. She is in competition with my own Instagram account, okay? She is far better ahead, of course. So I will leave you with those thoughts, and thank you for your warm presence here, your smiles, contributions. I will be really looking forward to meet you all in person in the future, and if not, on different platforms and meetings like we did this morning. And thanks for choosing EMCC. Thanks for choosing to GPS. And let me also finish by thanking to Denise and her team. Denise, I'm sure you all know, our Vice President in charge of accreditation. She is doing a great job. And I just introduced her in another occasion, not only on the execution side, she's also the visionary, as we are just aligning all of our work with much larger global platforms, frameworks. So that's why we feel so confident in all the work we do with European Commission, with higher education framework, with all the other players in the world. So thank you, Denise, and thank you to all of you for this excellent session. This is how I will, if you allow me to close our session now. Thank you.